How does a $1.5 billion handshake turn into a 4-year legal battle? Why would an 83-year-old billionaire fight to keep a team he already agreed to sell? And what happens when a tech titan and a baseball legend team up against one of the NBA's longest tenured owners? I'm your host, Kyle, and welcome to Basketball Business, where we uncover the money moves behind the hardwood. Today, we're diving deep into the Minnesota Timberwolves ownership saga, a high-stakes drama that has finally reached its conclusion. Back in 2021, something unprecedented happened in NBA ownership circles. Glen Taylor, who had owned the Timberwolves since 1994 after buying them to save them from relocation, agreed to sell the franchise to an unlikely duo, tech entrepreneur Marc Lore and former baseball superstar Alex Rodriguez. The deal was structured unlike anything we have seen before in major professional sports. 4 payments over 3 years. The first payment was the initial 20% stake. Then, Marc Lore and Alex Rodriguez had the option to buy another 20% stake. Payment 3 was the crucial 40% stake for controlling interest, and payment 4, the final 20% stake. The total price, $1.5 billion for ownership control over the Minnesota Timberwolves and Minnesota Lynx. Now you might be wondering, why structure the deal this way? Why not just buy the teams outright? Multiple sources have confirmed that Glen Taylor himself insisted on this arrangement. The 83-year-old billionaire wasn't quite ready to hand over complete control immediately. He wanted a mentorship period where he could gradually transition leadership while Lore and Rodriguez learned the business. This structure forced many potential buyers to walk away before A-Rod and Lore agreed to it. It was the only way to get a deal done with Glen Taylor.
So my expectations were at that time that they would take advantage of these 2 or 3 years to learn about running the club and see how I did things.
For their part, Lore and Rodriguez accepted these unusual terms because it gave them something valuable: time to assemble their financing while getting a foothold in NBA ownership. They are rich, but not NBA owner rich. Lore had previously sold Jet.com to Walmart in 2016, netting him $477 million, while A-Rod has earned over $450 million in his baseball career, but neither had the liquid billions needed to buy an NBA team outright. Let's fast forward to March 2024, where Lore and Rodriguez had completed their first 2 payments, acquiring approximately 36% of the franchise. The deadline approached for the critical third payment, one that would give them controlling interest. Suddenly, Glen Taylor dropped a bombshell. On March 28th, he announced the deal was off, claiming Lore and Rodriguez, quote, did not meet several benchmarks and had missed their payment deadline. Taylor declared, the Timberwolves and Lynx are no longer for sale. But here's where it gets fascinating. Lore and Rodriguez immediately fired back, claiming they had the cash ready to go. They argued Taylor was suffering from seller's remorse and vowed to, quote, use every ounce of effort to enforce the contract that Glen broke. Taylor disagrees with that.
Well, I don't think I have seller's remorse. I just think that right now things are going well.
The timing couldn't have been more suspicious. During those 3 years between the initial agreement and the final payments coming due, something remarkable happened. The Timberwolves transformed from perpetual underachievers to legitimate contenders behind emerging superstar Anthony Edwards. And that resulted in off-court success too. The franchise's value exploded from just $1.5 billion to over $3 billion, according to Sportico's latest valuations. As one source close to negotiations put it, the Timberwolves went from producing just 6 figures of gross revenue per home game a few years ago to over $2 million for select home games. Local TV viewership has skyrocketed 115%, and the team cracked $50 million in annual ticket revenue for the first time ever. Putting it this way, Taylor agreed to sell right before the value of his team doubled. Some league insiders weren't surprised on him regging on the deal. Taylor has a history of going back on his word. Remember the infamous Kevin Garnett situation? KG, the greatest player in franchise history, still refuses to have his jersey retired or speak with Taylor after a post-retirement management deal fell through, Garnett later stating, "I don't do business with snakes."
Totally understand him. I totally get it. And he's dealing with Glenn, who doesn't know about basketball.
The Taylor pattern was playing out again, but this time with billions of dollars at stake. What followed was a high-stakes legal showdown that made billion-dollar M&A deals look straightforward by comparison. Both sides prepared for an arbitration, and Lore and Rodriguez assembled an ownership group that would make any NBA owner nervous. They showed up with significant financial firepower, having learned from earlier missteps. Their lineup now includes Michael Bloomberg, worth $104.7 billion, former Google CEO Eric Schmidt, worth $25.1 billion, and Dial Home Court Partners, an NBA-approved private equity partnership group. Together, they placed $950 million in escrow, plus another $200 million in working capital, sending a clear message. They have the financial firepower to run this franchise properly. This wasn't just showmanship. They submitted detailed documentation to the NBA proving they had raised the additional funds. What most NBA fans don't realize is that Rodriguez and Lore had paid majority control prices for technically minority stakes. In NBA transactions, limited partners typically receive a 20 to 30% discount due to the lack of control they'll have over the teams. If Taylor's termination attempt was successful, they'd be stuck as minority owners who had overpaid, an unsustainable position. By contrast, Taylor, who had purchased the team for just $88 million in 1994, appeared increasingly desperate to maintain control of a suddenly valuable asset. According to multiple sources, Taylor had quietly purchased additional shares from a limited partner named Bill Sexton, specifically to maintain a higher ownership percentage than Lore and Rodriguez, 37 to 36%. This maneuver raised serious questions about Taylor's intentions from the beginning. The case went to a 3-person arbitration panel, with each side selecting one arbitrator and a neutral third party completing the panel. After months of hearing and deliberations, on February 10, 2025, the panel ruled 2-1 in favor of Lore and Rodriguez. The arbitrators determined that their purchase agreement remained valid and should proceed as originally planned.
Agreed amount or no deal.
You serious? You saying I intentionally shorted you?
No. Mistakes happen.
You're really willing to blow up this deal over 20 bucks?
Are you?
While the arbitration ruling marks a significant victory for Marc Lore and Alex Rodriguez, they're not quite the official owners of the Wolves yet. The final hurdle? NBA approval. Commissioner Adam Silver has confirmed that while Lore and Rodriguez were previously approved as minority owners, the league must conduct a more thorough review before approving them as controlling owners. This process includes examining things like personal financial statements, business plans, investor profiles, and a comprehensive background check. The key question: will the NBA Board of Governors vote to approve new owners when the current owner objects to sale? Anticipating this challenge, Lore and Rodriguez have spent months meeting with dozens of team owners to build support. It's a high-stakes political campaign, complicated by Taylor's standing as former chairman of the Board of Governors and his long relationship with Adam Silver. The arbitration process itself created complications for the league. Taylor's legal team even subpoenaed the NBA for communications, putting the league in the uncomfortable position of potentially having to disclose confidential information about franchise valuation methodologies and ownership discussions. Silver has acknowledged the deal structure was not ideal and said it, quote, may cause us to reassess what sort of transactions we should allow in the future. Meanwhile, the Boston Celtics owners are proposing a similar staggered sale process, with 51% now and 49% in 2028. That mirrors many of the same complexities that we had from the Wolves sale. If you're interested in that financial engineering masterclass, check out our detailed Celtics sale analysis video we made on the channel, where we break down how the $6 billion valuation compares to this Timberwolves case study. This saga represents something far more than contract disputes. It highlights the explosive growth in NBA franchise valuations and the changing nature of team ownership. Consider this: Lore and Rodriguez are poised to acquire the Timberwolves for just $1.5 billion, when the team's current market value exceeds $3 billion. That's an instant paper profit of over $1.5 billion, doubling their money and making it likely the most immediately profitable transaction in NBA history. Meanwhile, the team faces substantial luxury tax challenges. With a payroll exceeding $200 million and an estimated $84 million luxury tax bill, the franchise projects significant operating losses this season. This financial reality drove the team's decision to trade Karl-Anthony Towns to the Knicks in October. Check out the video we made on that right here. Ironically, when Taylor was still making basketball decisions. He remained the primary decision maker throughout the arbitration process, even personally approving the Cat trade. The contrast in spending between old and new ownership is stark. Taylor historically avoided the luxury tax, paying just $25.5 million total since his entire ownership tenure began in 1994 and none since 2011. The new ownership group has already committed to pay whatever it takes to maximize the team's championship window with Anthony Edwards. But the new owners must also navigate building a new arena to replace the aging Target Center, which is the second oldest in the NBA after the venerated Madison Square Garden, securing a long-term media rights deal. They are currently on a one-year agreement with FanDuel Sports Network, and navigating increasingly complex CBA language. The Timberwolves ownership saga represents a perfect storm of sports business dynamics, escalating franchise values, complex financial engineering, billionaire egos, and the intersection of sports and entertainment. The unprecedented structure of this transaction and its messy resolution will likely influence how the NBA approaches ownership transactions in the future. Commissioner Silver has already hinted about potential policy changes regarding stage acquisitions. For Marc Lore and Alex Rodriguez, their persistence has potentially earned them one of the greatest value investments in sports history. The saga also provides a key business lesson. When acquiring assets worth billions of dollars, professional advisors and proper financial planning is essential. For Glen Taylor, his attempt to maintain control of a rapidly appreciating asset has failed, though he still walks away with substantial profits from his original $88 million investment. As the NBA's newest controlling owners prepare to take over, they inherit both significant challenges and exciting opportunities. The Timberwolves' trajectory, both on and off the court, will serve as a case study in modern sports business for years to come. Thanks for watching this deep dive into the Timberwolves ownership saga. If you enjoyed or learned something new, please like, comment, and share with someone you think would enjoy. Subscribe to Basketball Business for more great content on the off-court moves that make the on-court plays. Until next time, this is Kyle with Basketball Business.